Well, here we are at the end. As of this current writing, Ben drowned is 5 days from its final episode. While I believe this isn't the end of the stories in this universe, it is confirmed at the end of Ben drowned's story. And saying that just feels so strange. Previously, we encountered the predecessor, and Sarah lost her life as they fought in the Chamber of the Sages, believed to be the central hub for the different worlds held by the Eternity Project, seemingly the true face behind the Moon Children. We were able to access an old variant of their website, which looked shockingly like you shouldn't have done that .net. Also, where we learned more about Kelbris, and received total confirmation that Kelbris and the Father are the same entity. Now, we continue. As on August 30th, we got a premiere for a new video. For internal corporate use only, do not redistribute. This video title alone is highly suggestive of someone from inside leaking internal company data. For what reason, we're still unsure.
A famous doctor once said that suffering can lead to transformation, and that out of ashes births a phoenix. We believe humanity has a greater destiny, not one that was meant for a life of living in perpetual debt, in a world full of poverty, violence, and corruption. At the Eternity Project, we set out with a mission to help alleviate the suffering and give us, all of us, a chance to prosper as we were always destined to. In the early 2000s, development of this technology began, and our team at Xavius Solutions has spent the last 2 decades working tirelessly with our research and development teams to ensure the safety and longevity of the project before making it commercially available. In 2020, we are proud to announce that the Eternity Project has passed its final preliminary test and is ready for the general public. There is no age requirement to join, no financial obligation, no discrimination of any kind, although priority treatment is given to those who are approaching end of life. Once a part of the Eternity Project, you and your loved ones can enjoy a carefree existence, experiencing new joys in the various worlds we've designed. Here, you can live without fear of pain or death. You can take on any role, be the hero of your favorite movie, rescue the princess from an evil dragon, relive your childhood through some of your favorite video games. Or if you want the more traditional experience of an afterlife, you can enjoy your own simulated version of heaven, catered to your generalized denomination. Our dedicated team is always ensuring the proper safety and management of our worlds, with multiple backups. Keep in mind that the number and fidelity of the available worlds for our patients is increasing with each and every passing year. So if your perfect world doesn't currently exist, well, it just might tomorrow. So how does it work? It starts with a simple procedure on the patient's left hand. Here we'll be able to test if your body is compatible with our augmented technology. If the implant isn't rejected by the body, you will then be assigned to a personalized physician to discuss what manner of care is best for you and what world you might be best suited for initially. Keep in mind, this is only a starting point. You can move between different worlds to meet up with friends and family at your leisure. Next, you'll be able to schedule a series of appointments at one of your local healthcare centers for your digitization process. In these appointments, we get to know you a little bit better by administering personalized tests on different attributes, ranging from cognition, perception, negative triggers, favorite memories, political beliefs, and more. The goal is to create a complete personality file on you leading up to your actual digitization. Why? Because each one of us is a unique and wonderful human being, we go through extraordinary lengths to ensure that the digitization process captures every essence of what makes you, well, you. Once digitized, you'll be able to enjoy your newfound freedom. You've become part of a world where anything is possible, and you have eternity to enjoy it. So join us on our endeavor to connect the world in perfect harmony. For a millennia, humanity has always lived in the shadow of our greatest enemy, death. But now, there is no reason to fear it. We have created eternity.
Well, this certainly throws things for a jam, doesn't it? Seems a little too upbeat about dead kids in an old video game, right? Well, if we take what we have with this video in context, we can actually relate it back to what Abel said back in Methods of Revolution, the Truth.wmv.
In layman's terms, this was kind of one of the original simulations that we had constructed way back when. A kind of a playground, if you would, for our first real rudimentary foray into artificial intelligence. You know, granted, that was so long ago that it looks absolutely archaic compared to what we can do now. But it's been a blast going down memory lane. It's like almost like an ant colony that you set and you forgot about it for decades, and then to revisit it to find it so completely messed up and destroyed. It's wild. Like with its program and directive to corrupt as much as it could, and when no other external force was involved, it just turned inward on itself and destroyed the own world that it inhabited.
Also, Abel's reference to other entertainment scents that would really surprise her from the same video also calls to mind these other digital worlds. Taking all this into account, it's all but confirmed that Sarah is in fact digitized, meaning the hotel is on some level a digital interface. Almost perhaps like an adjacent to the hub we saw before, or maybe it's some sort of reserves that the digital worlds pull from to fill their worlds. Whatever the case may be, once this video came to an end, some interesting things came out about the website end of things. MethodsRevolution.com began redirecting to EternityProject.com, fully hinting that this was going to be our new hub of information, and the Eternity Project website itself received quite the makeover. We see a wireframe figure similar to the previous video's thumbnail, and on the front page we have revolutionary ideas, methodical solutions. Huh, I see what you did there, Chad. Very clever. Over in the corner we can see a copyright to Xavius Solutions, the parent company behind Eternity Project. This is the same name that was name dropped in the video. Heading over to the page, we are immediately greeted with a previously leaked video. Absolutely nothing has changed here, but since we didn't go over the tags beforehand, I will do that now. Eternity Project, Ben Drowned, Virtual Reality, BR, Virtual Worlds, Digitization, Eternity. We have created Eternity. Moving on, we have some paragraphs on why you should choose digitization as your next step towards overcoming your humanity. Human fragility. Despite our best efforts in medical advancements, the human body ultimately has a finite lifespan. The unavoidable truth is that from the moment we are born, the moments we have on this world are fleeting. We can prolong the effects of aging with a healthy diet, smart lifestyle choices, and exercise, but all of us ultimately have to face the same reality in the end: death. Since the dawn of time, mankind has been searching for an answer to this inevitability. A digital solution. For decades, the mind behind Xavius Solutions have worked in over 13 countries in search of that very same solution. But it was only in the 21st century that we realized that we really had the means to obtain it. Through trial and error, they eventually found that by utilizing a process called digitization, it was possible to completely transfer a human's brain indefinitely into a digital network. Though the patient leaves their physical body, their mind and spirit remain completely intact. A brighter tomorrow. This revolutionary new method has allowed digitized humans to overcome our limitations and live eternally in a virtual cyberspace, free from the burdens of our natural world. With every passing year, the list of worlds developed by our team continues to expand, ranging from simulated worlds identical to ours, reimagined popular movies and games, faraway planets, and more. Participants can choose to live in these worlds as long or as little as they wish before moving on to the next world to explore. An uncertain future. In these increasingly uncertain times, the only certainty we have is one that can never predict when their number comes. Although research is progressing into digitization after expiry, the efforts to restore the neural activity required remain unsuccessful. Many proactive people, both young and old, are deciding to take fate into their own hands and are signing up for our clinics now more than ever before. In as little as 4 to 6 weeks, you can have your initial consultation and begin your process towards an incredible journey. Well, next we're going to move on to the participants page, where we find something very interesting. There's a long list of names here full of folks from the Patreon. Users who have paid at least $5 to receive the Ben Distinction Reward will see their name up on this board. Up here on the top, we have the following information for us. While most participants in the Eternity Project prefer to either remain anonymous, with the exception of friends and family, or stay exclusively to private worlds, on occasion there are those that offer to mentor others. These participants make up the bulk of our EAP program, serving to acclimate newcomers to the digitization progress, and all the amazing benefits that it offers. We attempt to keep a regularly updated list here for reference. These participants often travel between public worlds, so be sure to be on the lookout if you encounter them. Some still go by their original names, but most have become acclimated to their new environment that they've either adopted a moniker or immersed themselves in a new persona entirely. Now we head over to the Live tab. From time to time, we will host live sessions for demonstration purposes. Typically, these will be opportunities for people in the outside world to communicate with those who have been digitized and get to know them and the process better in general. Other times, we host public announcements with the Xavier Solutions dev team. Please check back soon, as we are always updating. Now, when the users first checked this page out, they found an embedded video that runs 20 seconds long announcing that there are currently no live transmissions available for viewing. However, this wasn't always the case.
Hey, it's Abel calling. I hope you're able to patch up some of those network vulnerabilities we were having earlier. I'm stuck here in Washington running some sort of apology tour for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. It's a fucking PR nightmare. Apparently creating a simulated version of heaven has everyone up to and including the Pope clutching their pearls. I don't even see what the big goddamn deal is. At least our version is definitively provable. I mean, if anything, I'm more pro-life than any of these fucking assholes. Anyway, I'm rambling. I need your help with something important, like priority one, and I'd really rather not discuss it over voicemail. So, yeah, answer your damn phone. I'll be giving you another ring here shortly if I don't hear back from you in like 10 minutes. Alright? Call me back. You know the number.
So it seems that Eternity Project isn't as widely accepted solution to all of life's problems as they made it seem. It certainly seems like we can only connect some of the dots here from what we've seen. Abel is an Eternity Project / Xavier Solutions employee, possibly even a project lead considering his personal mission of making this apology tour he mentions. This simulated heaven concept is almost certainly the biblical level event that Baker describes taking place happening in Manhattan. 8 minutes after this video went live, it was replaced by a second one.
Hey, just following up here because I haven't heard from you yet and you're making me kind of nervous. I don't know if I said this in my last message, but this is extremely important. Like paramount for the well-being of our jobs is important. I'm trusting you with a lot here, and it has specifically to do with World Alpha. And this does not leave this conversation. Do you understand me? We shouldn't even be talking about it over voicemail, which again, if you answer your fucking phone, we wouldn't be in this position in the first place. Listen, I need you to access something remotely for me. My hands are tied up halfway across the country. You've got 5 minutes to call me back or it's your ass.
Now, that is interesting, but it isn't until the third video here where some really interesting connections can be made.
Let me just get something straight here. I never liked you. As far as I'm concerned, you were some kind of pity hire that got him just because of your dad. Now that's out of the way, you have an opportunity to make me hate you a little bit less. I need you to do something for me that may or may not put your job into jeopardy. As your boss, that is a risk I'm willing to take. What I say now does not leave this conversation, and you forget everything you've heard about this after you've completed it. I know during your orientation it was repeatedly stressed that you do not touch World Alpha by any means necessary. That for all intents and purposes, it does not exist. That was and still is very good advice. However, as your boss, I'm going to ask you to carefully break that rule because time is a little critical right now. I know this might come as some kind of surprise to you, but an enormously successful cutting-edge tech juggernaut might just happen to have 1 or 2 little skeletons in its closet. Something's gone horribly wrong in World Alpha, and what happens to that will have a cascading effect on the rest of the hosted world. Every iteration of the site and the systems we have built up for Eternity Project have been built on top of this legacy code. Alright, I'm going to give you the credentials to the old system administrator's account meant for only accessing World Alpha. This can only be done on a local machine connected to the network, otherwise I do it here and not depend on some kind of proverbial code monkey. Now let me say in no uncertain terms here that this is a legacy account built on legacy code that is just about as old as you are. I can count the people that vaguely still know how it works on one hand. Do not touch anything you're not supposed to. Follow my instructions very carefully. You're going to go to the main website and you're going to type the following slug into the URL: /sysAdmin 5-alpha-backdoor and hit enter. If it works, you should be prompted for a password. You're going to want to type WTHNHDRS12. If that works, you'll see a nasty error message. Just be patient. There should be a button somewhere to proceed after a few seconds. You'll have to find it. It's not always readily available. If you find it, click it. That should take you into the bootables for World Alpha. The password there is capital MNCHLDRN capital A11. You need to be careful about this because the system will lock you out after too many attempts. Okay, now here is the tricky part. I can't believe I'm trusting you with this. Alright. Now you should be staring at the metaphorical heart of World Alpha. There should be an option to inject a text file directly into the database. It needs to be a basic text file with the correct, I cannot stress this enough, the correct parameters. If you overload the server with the wrong information, you're liable to fry the entire thing or at least severely screw things up. You're going to have to write the bit of code yourself and then manually inject it. In the past, when I've had to run maintenance cycles on it, I've just used TXT files. You'll have to upload the right file with the right text for this ancient thing to parse through and hit submit. Once you do, give it a second and it should upload to the server. Unfortunately, you're not going to know the results immediately, so you better pray to God that you got it right. If you're too hasty and you go around clicking things without knowing what they do, you're liable to have the opposite effect here. Okay, I am counting on you more than I want to. I'm hoping that you get this right. If not, dude, if you fuck this up, I might have just enough time to come and kill you before they end up killing you.
Okay, whew. So that is a lot. But from this information, players were able to find the backdoor page of the Eternity Project website, which allowed them access just as Abel described. Users stared directly at World Alpha's heart. Some interesting things to note are the parallels of World Alpha's description to themes of solipsism we've seen come time and time again. The entirety of the Eternity's Project Foundation is built on the legacy code of World Alpha, meaning if it dies, it all dies. Also very interestingly is the use of the first password here, WTHN HBRS12, within Hubris 2012. So if we take this thought to its natural conclusion, it's very likely that previously what we saw were used for the live transmissions acted as an interface to communicate with digitized people. This sounds like how we, the players, interacted with the Ascended Moon Children during the Hubris arc within Hubris, specifically in the Wayward Horizon, which also has come up for the password to the environments pages last time on the legacy version of the Eternity Project website. Users such as Zedrigex and Circle Hunter have both posited theories that these events, and more as we'll dive into, suggest that each website we visited has been constructed by the Eternity Project as a method of testing their simulations and the external world's effects on them under the guise of a horror story led by a video game cult. Circle specifically has some other juicy tidbits about this theory, but I'm going to hold off on that now as we've got more to talk about on this here. So this section of the game was a bit chaotic, as several people attempted to organize a proper solution for what kind of code to inject. It was a chaotic mess that I'll summarize very succinctly in that Discord users Dents and Jasmina came up with the idea of injecting a GameShark code meant to give a fairy to Sarah, similar to how players robbed Alex all the way back in Arc 2. A GameShark specifically was chosen because it theorized that the object that could interfere with simulation that Matt asked us about in the last hero was a GameShark. Now, before we move on to the final video posted and the results of our efforts, there is a final connection from this video I want to make. Abel makes mention of his disdain towards the person he's attempting to call here. He mentions the recipient's father as a core reason as why they have the job they do, which is odd considering we don't know this character's name, who they are, anything about them. So this would mean the fact that this character has a mentioned father is a clue to deducing their identity. So thinking back, how many characters have we read about so far that have specifically mentioned alongside a father? And no, I'm not counting the father because that's more of a moniker than an actual parental role. If we think back to riot.txt, we remember that Jadus remembers fondly listening to police scanner stories with his father, a tangent that until now had only been flavored text, nothing really resembling anything we needed to know. The police scanners are an allusion to the actual riots, which imply the St. Louis event in riot.mp3. And similarly, we also know that Jadus' previous job before the societal collapse was in IT, as a baker.txt, which, let me readdress, Jadus lived in the same area as these mysterious boys in white, or the Eternity Project. I also theorized that it was Jadus writing the new entries on the legacy version of the Eternity Project website. The writing style matches too well. So, Abel is calling Jadus, and my inner alarm signals are firing off on all fronts. Anyway, we'll definitely keep that in mind as we move forward. We have one final video here on the website before we move on.
Alright. Well, I don't know what you did, but at least the immediate crisis is over. I'm checking on my end now. Hang on. Okay, well, okay. If that's the route you want to go, not the direction I would have taken at this point, but I guess those are both equally valid options. We're going to get another chance here to stabilize things at World Alpha. I still think it's possible and worthwhile to say that. I know at this point I'm probably one of the only ones. There are people stuck in there after all. I just wouldn't feel comfortable condemning them to die if there was a chance they could be saved. Let's see what happens when the game comes back online. I hope to God this works.
After this video, we would have to wait until next week's update to see the results of our actions. The video returned to the original one stating the lack of a live transmission. Next, we move over to the roadmap page, which houses the short and long-term plan of Xavia's solutions. Roman Empire world enters preliminary testing. World merger technology expected to release. Legacy code overhaul and removal. General performance improvements, stability adjustments, and bug fixes. More streamlined welcome experience. So here we have confirmation that the plan at this point is to phase out World Alpha, which seems to conflict with Abel's insistence on saving it, unless his assumed care for the world is only to see through until it can be phased out. Next, for the entirety of 21 to 2022, the following goals are listed. Global Digitization Initiative begins. Removing avatar constraints. User-created world testing enters alpha. Development begins on digital revival. Superhero world leaves closed beta. Integration with older hardware pre-2005 begins preliminary testing. Begins preliminary testing. It's such an interesting phrase here because you would think that seeing as a pre-2005 technology was their very first prototype for this kind of simulation, that they would have some level of work put into it. But it almost seems like after the events of the creation of World Alpha, they immediately jumped into more modern tech. Next up, we're going to investigate the frequently asked questions page. Making the decision to undergo the digitization process is often the source of a significant amount of conflict and apprehension for both the potential applicant and with friends and family who do not support their decision. Naturally, many applicants harbor feelings of uneasiness after leaving the world they grew in, or fear of the unknown. This FAQ section is meant to provide some rudimentary information, but it is always advisable to visit and consult with your nearest provider about any questions you might have with the process. How old do I have to be digitized? Legally, the right to be digitized, a right that we believe is unalienable, still operates on the same right to die or death with dignity laws in your country's jurisdiction. We're actively campaigning to get this changed, as we see it barbaric that digitization is roped into the same category, but typically the average medical provider cannot legally even consider this option until the applicant is over 18 years of age and considered an adult. What is the actual ascension procedure like? The medical procedure is relatively quick. However, due to pressure from other countries and competing businesses, we deliberately keep the specific details of the process under a strict non-disclosure agreement. It has taken us decades to perfect the process, and we are dedicated to ensuring the sacrifices that were made to get here were not in vain. In order to maintain the purity of our process against those that would infringe on our rights, the specifics will be disclosed upon signing of the NDA. Interesting to note here is the presence of competing businesses, meaning that Xavier Solutions is not the only developer with this kind of technology. What kind of worlds are available? After being digitized, you will be placed in the world that you and your healthcare provider have decided on beforehand. This is typically a waiting room called the Wayward Horizon. It operates more or less as an in-between world, an introductory area for newcomers or a lobby for others. There is a cooldown period of 24 hours before your first world transfer is available. This is proven necessary to monitor the participant if they have any trouble adjusting. After the time has elapsed, you are able to move freely. We have a wide range of worlds available, including several famous movie worlds, popular video games, and science fiction fantasy lands. The worlds based off of popular films have been rebuilt from scratch, while the video game worlds allow you to be injected directly into the gameplay with the appropriate graphical fidelity. Due to general compatibility errors, anything released on hardware before 2005 is not available. We are expecting countless new worlds to become available every year, so fear not. Boredom will never enter the equation. This motherfucker just outright said it. We've been theorizing for no less than 10 minutes, and this motherfucker just outright confirms that Wayward Horizon is the interaction point between the digital world and the physical one, which, if I might add, is also most likely the ethereal hotel based on its also digital existence. And the callbacks to knocking on doors from Matt and Rosa in Arc 2 being very similar to the presence of the jailer from the hotel. Also, a quick note, the waiting period of 24 hours directly lines up with the first choice to stay, whereas player 2 was not available to enter the digital world because he did not stay 24 hours, therefore he did not adjust well according to EP standards, where Sarah did. The jailer's face imprinting in the father's face onto the digital person's vision. This also relates to the terminology of within hubris as inside the moon, and relating it to the strange reservation to the Stockpot Inn that Jadusable had during his pre-Day 4 experience. Can I communicate with the outside world? Communication with the outside world is extremely limited and can typically only be done through certain websites that have already opened a gateway that allows that particular kind of data to be transferred. Every so often we sponsor a traditional Ask Me Anything event where a digitized person, usually a part of the EAP program, will return to Wayward Horizon and talk to the general public, promoting the benefits of digitization and answering questions. Can I create my own world? At this time, we are unable to create their own custom worlds and must use the ones created by Xavier Solutions. We are confident that the amount of variety we have provided will be more than sufficient to last a significant amount of time, even by eternity standards. In addition, we release new worlds every year once they have been sufficiently tested internally. The aptest comparison to think of is worlds as lobbies in a traditional online game. You can host a myriad of versions of the same world, but each one has the potential to be a dramatically different experience depending on who is participating. There is also the option to turn a world to private, meaning that only those you invite to the world will be able to join you. Worlds are set to public by default. What kind of people can I expect in public worlds? People of every demographic and people that are just like you. Those who have been uploaded have often similar interests and led lives that have been brought to them to the program. Depending on the specific world you've chosen, you will meet different individuals. Certain worlds attract certain types of participants inherently, and our studies have shown that typically the younger the demographic is, the less likely the participants will follow the world's script. That is to say, events in the world may play out dramatically differently than they usually would, or sometimes not at all. Interesting, this note slyly ignores the fact that these young users might get placed into shells that restrict their autonomy. Is there pain? What happens if I die? The ability to feel pain in a setting that is determined by the initial host of the world. Death is dependent on the type of world you're inhabiting. If you are in a world similar to our original reality, upon death you will immediately be returned to the previous day. If you are inhabiting a video game or fantasy world, your death will obey the laws of that world, either removing you from that world entirely, in the case of most fantasy and film worlds, or restarting from a checkpoint, in the case of most video game worlds. Death and pain are always disabled in the heaven simulations and cannot be overridden. This is one of the features that Xavier Solutions had the most difficulty ironing out before the Eternity project was cleared to leave alpha in 2013, as originally death was permanent and the participant had to be manually rebooted from a sysadmin. How secure is my data? Considering our data is our most valuable asset, all of our servers possess several layers of the most sophisticated encryption software available and are additionally backed up at several undisclosed physical locations spread across the globe. There is no risk of the possibility of data corruption in any form whatsoever. We find that this question often gets asked us more in a nervous safety net and not really meant in earnest. Establishing a route to return to the physical world remains a low priority for our development team, as there's very little support for it. Both internally and with our participants, one of the thousands of men and women that made the right choice to become digitized in our network have a 100% satisfaction rate. And after surveying all the human population, I found that they have a 100% satisfaction rate with my YouTube channel and are willing to subscribe. That's how lying works, right? Anyway, moving on to this final page we have here, we have the most exciting topic of them all, legal speak. I'm going to burst through this real quick, but we will slow down for any important things to look out for. Please read the terms and conditions carefully before using our service or engaging in digitization. Interpretation and definitions. The words of which with initial letters capitalized have meanings defined under the following conditions. The following definitions shall have the same meaning, regardless of whether they appear in singular or in plural. Definitions. For the purpose of these terms and conditions, affiliate means an entity that controls, is controlled by, under common control of the party which controls ownership of 50% more of the shares, equity, interest, or securities entitled to vote for the election of directors or managing authority. Country refers to New York, United States. Company refers to either as the company, we, us, our, in this agreement, refers to Zeta Solutions and or eternity project. Device means any device that can access the service such as computer, cell phone, digital tablet, or implant. Service refers to the information contained from this website, data within, or the process of digitization, data being digitized. Terms and conditions also refer to terms, meaning the terms and conditions that form the entire agreement between you and the company regarding use of service. Third-party social media service means any service or content, including data information, products, or services provided by third party that may be displayed, included, and made available by the service. Website refers to eternity project, accessible from eternity.com. You means the individual accessing or using the service of the company or legal entity on behalf of which such individual is accessing or using service as applicable. Acknowledgement. These terms and conditions governing use of service and agreement that operates between you and Zeta Solutions. These terms and conditions set out the rights, obligations, all users regarding use of service. Your access to a use of service condition and your acceptance and compliance with terms and conditions. These terms and conditions apply to all visitors, users, and access use of service. By accessing or using service, you agree to abide by the terms and conditions. If you agree with any parties to the conditions, you may not get access to the service. You represent that you are over the age of 18. Zeta Solutions does not permit those under 18 to use the service in accordance with local and federal law. Your access to a use of service condition and your acceptance and compliance with privacy policy of the company and privacy policies, policies and procedures in the collection, use and disclosure of personal information when you use the application or the website and tells you about your privacy rights and the law protects you. Please read your privacy policy before using the service. All service contained with third-party websites and services that are not owned or controlled by the company. The company has no control over and responsibility for the current content, privacy policies, practices, and any third-party websites or services. If you're not agree to the company, you should not be responsible directly or indirectly for any damage or otherwise, or loss or alleged to be caused by the connection and use of the license or content or services available through any such websites or services. Strongly advise you to read the terms and conditions, privacy policies, and third-party sector services that use it. Commission may terminate just when your access immediately without prior notice or liability for any reason whatsoever, including limited to breach these terms and conditions. Upon termination, your rights to services immediately. Limitation of liability, not withstanding any damages may incur. The entire liability of the company and its suppliers on your provision of terms exclusive revenue is for eventually limited to the service. To the next extent permitted by applicable law and eventual company be supplied to be liable for suspected similar directory customer damage whatsoever, including but not limited to damage to loss of privacy, loss of data, other information, business, personal injury, death, or use of service, loss of privacy, outright waive use of inability to service, failure of the SRHOHLW method, third-party service and third-party harbor use of service, data corruption, customer service, or otherwise connection with any person in terms. Even if the company or suppliers advise possibility of such damages even with member details and essential purpose. In addition, you can also take full responsibility for services and associated risks, having due diligence on educating yourself in the history of service. Some states not allowed exclusive and apply warranties and limitation of liability for the incidental consequential damages, which means some above limitation that apply. Any state party's liability will be limited to the greatest extent permitted by law, as is and as available by disclaimer. Services party to as is and as available without faults and defects without warranty of any kind. Maximum extent permitted under applicable law, company on behalf of affiliates, prospective licensors and service providers. So states all warranties whether express implied, statutory or otherwise. Express services including all applied warranties and merchantability, fitness for particular purpose, title and non-infringement warranties that may arise out of the course of dealing, course of performance, usage or trade practice, whether limited to the foregoing. Company provides no warranty or undertaking makes no representation of any kind that service meet your requirements, achieving any intended result, compatible work with any software application systems or services offered without interruption, meaning performance or reliability standards, or be free or any errors or defects that cannot be corrected. Eliminating foregoing that the company or other company's providers shall gain representation or official warranty of any kind, express or implied, as the operation, the availability of service, the information, content, or materials or products included thereon, that the service will be interrupted or error free, that's the accuracy, reliability, safety, or accuracy of any information or content provided to the service, or that the service, its service, content or emails sent from the behalf of the company are free of viruses, scripts, Trojan horses, forms, malware, the bomb, or other harmful components. Some restrictions not allowed exclusion of certain types of warranties or limitations that are applicable to charge rights of consumer. So some overall legal exclusions or limitations may not apply to you, but in some cases the exclusions or limitations set forth in section shall be applied to the greatest extent enforceable under applicable law. Governing law. Laws of the country, excluding itself and civil law rules, shall govern the terms of you and your service. The reason the application may also be subject to local, state, national, or international laws. Dispute resolution. If you have any concern or dispute about the service, you agree to first try to resolve the dispute formally by contacting the company. For the European union users, for European Union consumers, you will benefit from any mandatory provisions to the law of the country in which you reside. United States legal compliance. You represent the warrant that not one, you are not located in a country that is subject to the United States government embargo, but has been designated by the United States as a government terror supporting country, and do you are not listed in any states government listed party or restricted parties. Severability waiver. Any provision of these terms is held to be unenforceable or invalid, such provision will be changed, interpreted to be accomplish the objectives of such provision to the greatest extent possible, and the law and remaining provisions will continue full force and effect. Waiver. Except as for vertical hearing, the failure to exercise right or required performance of an obligation of this term shall not affect the party's ability to exercise such right requires such performance at any time, therefore, nor shall be a waiver of breach, constant waiver, any subsequent breach. Translation interpretation. These terms and conditions may have been translated if we made them available to you in our service. You agree that original English text will not fail in the case of a dispute. Changes to these terms and conditions. We reserve the right at our sole discretion to modify or replace these terms at any time. If revision is immaterial, you will make a reasonable efforts for at least 30 days notice prior to any terms taking effect. Constitutes a marital change will be determined at our sole discretion. By continuing to access our user service after this provision is effective, you agree to be bound by the revised terms. If you do not agree to the terms as a whole or in part, please stop using the website and service. Contact us. If you have any questions about these terms and conditions, you can contact us by visiting any client specializing in digitization or request to speak with legal counsel. Okay. Jeez. With that, we are finished with the Eternity Project website for now. Now, up next came an update in the video that aired the next week as the Final Hours.wmv. As of writing, this is the last video that had been aired, as after this update we went on hiatus for a stretch of about a month and a half. The finale is in sight, but first, let's see what this video has in store for us. So starting off with the tags, we have Jadusable, Ben Drowned, Moon Children, Haunted Majora's Mask, Sarah, Haunted Zelda, Rosa, Creepypasta, Ben Drowned, Creepypasta, Modded Zelda, Modded Creepypasta, Custom Majora's Mask, Modded Majora's Mask, Zelda, Custom Story Zelda, Haunted, Creepy, Modded Zelda Creepy, Ben Drowned 2, Awakening, Death, ROM Hack, Majora's Mask ROM Hack, every copy of Zelda is personalized, Majora's Mask, Ben Drowned Sequel, Ocarina of Time, Final Hours, Mayor Dotor, Fourth Day Glitch, Clock Town. Interesting to note the addition of Mayor Dotor here, but aside from that, everything else is pretty much ignored to what we know. Thumbnails are a little bit of a different story, as we have some thumbnail changes here. First one shows a screenshot of World Alpha's heart, and the next one is a cut-up of the intro sequences from the previous videos, and the next three here are more shots of World Alpha's heart. Then we have Sarah, dead inside the void between code. Next up, we have the strange assortment of characters in the void, all seemingly characters that have been removed from play. I mean, considering the Clocktown inhabitants were turned into redeads during the Moon Children.wmv that Sarah ended up taking care of, and a teaser on Twitter implying that Rosa met a similar fate from Jadusable, we can then theorize that the other NPCs here who have not made contact have met similar fates. Next up is the clock tower door off in the distance, closed, followed by opened slightly and much closer. Opened further, opened fully. And then another shot of World Alpha's heart seemingly reacting to the injected code, and then thumbnail as it is now. A shot of Link in the final hours as the moon is overlooking from as close as it has ever been. Starting the video up, we have some new spectrograms. The very first one is the phrase handshake established, but reversed, possibly implying the reverse of its meaning. Second, we have trapped in an endless cycle, and then no way to die. Both seemingly messages heard from inhabitants within the cartridge. Final one that has piqued my curiosity, as it comes from Duskworld 23's page on Methods of Evolution. They didn't tell us this end was Ascension. Also of note, in this intro sequence, when it plays back the portion where Sarah is killed, there's a new glass shattering effect that happens on the killing blow. This is a really cool moment and I like it a lot. Also, it comes with the implication that Berkeley reference from the previous video pertains to Sarah, as it seems World Alpha going haywire was directly linked to her own death. One might take the step further and suggest that Sarah is a personification of World Alpha, but that might be digging too deep. But still, the case could be argued. The video begins, and we're brought to a programming prompt. Now, the scene running here is stock footage, although it is interesting that data types entitled diabetes, breast cancer, Australian, and 4 class are mentioned. Some people have theorized this is speaking about Sarah's condition that led her to becoming digitized in the first place. That possibly she was an Australian woman diagnosed with breast cancer and chose digitization to avoid her fate, although the status of this seems shaky at best. The sound effect of a fairy healing is played, and Sarah wakes up in the void, back in her youngling form. This means that Jadusable has stolen the adult's mask from her. He is likely in that form now, and will be if we see him again. Right here we can see the Deku Butler's sign hidden where the Deku Playground normally is. Two graves here in the laundry pool immediately brings to mind Jad drowning in his character in the start of Arc 1, and the Happy Mask Salesman's demise in the Happy Mask Salesman.wmv. And here we have the canonization of Tiki Buns, a close friend and the second admin of the Wakening Discord. Of course, the first being Zedric X, who was canonized last time in the Showdown.wmv. Now, we're going to be seeing a lot more canonizations up close, so I'm just going to let it play out as I have been. Sarah arrives at the last possible moment, and a choice is offered to her. On Patreon, we received the vote to perform the glitch or not. In an overwhelming landslide, the choice to perform the glitch won out. After this vote, users waited patiently for the next update with bated breath. Only to find a day before the next slotted upload, Jad tweeted out that he was going to take some more time on the next few videos to make sure they're exactly how he wants them, and that he's working closely with modders and composers to make sure it's a great ending that fans will enjoy. And as we expect the next video to take place around the last week of September, which would put the original estimated end date to around early to mid-October-ish, since we get that the next video would also probably take 2 weeks to come out as well. So the fans waited, and didn't hear anything until the day before the supposed next update time again. The fourth day will premiere next Saturday, Jed begins in a new tweet. He's taking extra time to make sure that it's absolutely the best video it can be. Okay, awesome, no sweat. So like the first week of October, that's totally fine. People found other things to occupy their time with and waited until the very next Saturday. The premiere went live for the Fourth Day.wmv and featured a picture of the LG statue in the void, and it's gone. What? This is the confusion the users felt as they saw the premiere right there and then suddenly gone. Jad tweets on this, saying that with the current events developing as they are, he's deciding whether or not he should edit some parts out as they hit pretty close to home. He mentions that we are going back to check on an unresolved story beats, aka Jadus, and it seems that the recent news of US President US President actually Satan, man, why can't I get this right? US President Donald Trump, whatever it was again, contracted COVID-19 after being a prime naysayer of the virus's seriousness. I'm not going to go too deep into the politics of Dolan Torso's idiocy here because that's not what this video is about. It's just important to know that these are very likely events Jad is referencing and talking about taking the video down. We didn't hear anything else until 2 days later when we got a Patreon update on the whole situation. This small period of 2 days of no contact was a little irritating, especially as by this point I was a newly appointed mod of the Awakening Discord server, so keeping the peace was made only a little harder as folks continually questioned where the new update was, but here we got some new info. A quick update before the end. It's been a long journey, but we're finally nearing the end. The final 2 videos are slated to come out this month. The first of the videos, the fourth day, was set to premiere yesterday at 3 PM EST. However, due to real-life events, namely what's happened this weekend with our president, I felt that once again the Jadus storyline was blurring the line between reality and fiction. This has been a weird year, to say the very least, and a very sensitive time for our country. I would like to do what I can to not rock the boat or incite any more panic than what the 24/7 news cycle is currently doing. For the same reason why I dropped the plot thread initially when the real life began mirroring Jadus' storyline too closely with the riots across the country, I decided to postpone the update and rework a bit of the story when I found out the news Friday night. The beauty of having Jadus and Sarah's stories be completely separate from each other is that my original vision of Sarah's story and its conclusion of the Haunted Majora's Mask cartridge remains largely unaffected. There will be a time to revisit Jadus' story in the future, but once the timing is proven a little too eerie for me to publish it in good faith. Especially since tensions are already high, I'd like to do whatever small part I can to relieve them, not aggravate them. Taking the video down and looking over it while editing out Jadus' part, I felt there were a few more things that needed more time in the oven to get right, to really make the video as effective as it can be. It's been a decade since the original stories come out, and I feel though while it's short term it'll be an annoyance for people following it minute to minute, which I understand completely and apologize for, there are things I want to touch upon in this video that will make repeat viewings a year or two from now much more interesting. I only have an opportunity to wrap up the story once and deliver on it, so I'd like to take the time necessary to achieve it. I'll update the Patreon tiers after this post, but this also serves as a heads up that due to the Ben Drowned story concluding this month, the Neologist and Exceptional Supporter tiers are being modified and will go into effect to any new pledges after October 1st, 2020. So anyone who is at the $50 tier and hasn't been charged yet, the final roll reward will no longer be available to new pledges. Note that doesn't mean the rewards have been given out, just that we're not accepting new pledges anymore. This is also a reminder that the Patreon has always served as a tip jar, and to keep in mind going forward. As the story is reaching its conclusion, I wanted to once again thank you for all your incredible support these past few months. But please do not feel obligated to continue to support pledge. But please do not feel obligated to continue to pledge if finances are an issue, or if you want to spend your money elsewhere. For these final two videos, I'm taking much more time than normal to deliver a great experience to wrap the story up. I'm very aware of potentially disappointing people who've gotten used to the weekly videos back during the summer. But I think in the long run the trade-off will be worth it. The circumstances are a bit different now, and as I've said on Twitter, please take that into account when considering how much you want to pledge or continue to pledge. If you want to leave your pledges as a way of saying thank you or showing support as the story comes to its conclusion, that is perfectly fine. But I don't want anyone to feel obligated to. Really, it's okay. The Ben Distinction / Method Revolt Ward are still accepting new additions, meaning even if you pledge this month, I'll include you in good faith, even though you won't be charged until November 1st. But with the extra steps and effort that goes into delivering on the final roll, that specific reward is now closed for any new pledges. If you've already pledged to the tier in the past, you're fine and don't need to do anything further. This is just for new pledges. I will give ample heads up on Twitter and on here when the revised version of the Fourth Day is set to premiere this month, so be sure to check back for updates. Thank you for all your support, and let's see this through the end together. All my best, Alex. Okay, fair enough. Video is going back in the oven to remove the Jadusable. That's okay. If at least a little disappointing, but this is bad. Jad basically confirming he wants to continue to work on the Jadus storyline sometime in the future, as he's given himself a lot of leeway to continue expanding this world. And so, we wait. Oh, were you expecting me to say something? Write the next line and continue the video? Okay, I'll let you know when the videos are ready to continue. Do you understand my metaphor? These next few weeks were not a fun time. Let me be clear on the outset that I love this game, story, Discord, all of it to pieces. But it's because that I love it that I'm going to be pretty blunt here with my criticisms. It's just as I was with the Dark Times back during the Hubris arc, the act that finally pushed me away from the game initially. Jad, buddy, friendo, dude, homie, amigo. If you're trusting the mod team to keep the server running for you in your stead while you keep the air of mystery, that's totally fine. But please, in the future, please know that this 5-week period was so unnecessarily stressful on each of us, as we eventually ran out of excuses for when this update was coming out. If you were okay, literally anything. Radio silence. What started as some edits to remove some sections became the longest hiatus for this arc with zero contact with the public. Now, me, I was okay for the first 4 weeks. I was working hard on my own projects, getting my wiki up and running, starting a new Pokemon series, getting my Patreon set up, continuing my ARG. I was busy. I was okay with waiting for the next upload, and people were understanding as needing time to cook in the oven. What wasn't okay was wondering if you were okay. If something had happened to you, if stress became too much, literally a myriad of questions that all spawned because we care about you. To go through this entire period without hearing a single word was frustrating on an entirely new level. It was the exact same situation as the Hubris reveal trailer, which, if we return to that for a quick moment, when asked about, was basically blamed on the fans caring too much, which is an answer that still sits off of me to this day. And when we finally do get an update, it's because he's been off hiking to clear his mind and take a holiday. Perfectly fine. I advocate for self-care. But Jad, please. It would not have taken any modicum of effort to send 3 words to the mods to relay the info, "I'm on holiday." Those 3 words alone would have made this month at least 10 times easier than when it was. I'm not the only one saying this, and I'm not even the loudest one saying it. I'm excited for the finale. I still love the game. I still love the server and the job I get to do for it. But man, let's just not repeat this again. I'm spending so much time on it because of how easily it could have been avoided. But with that said, we finally got a tweet out on October 23rd, almost 2 months after the premiere of the last video, saying that the game will be ending on Halloween. Later on in the day, we got a cryptic teaser image that shows Sarah on the upper half of East Clocktown headed towards what looked to be Matt, standing next to the body of the happy mask salesman. We know this is Sarah because her inventory matches what she had in the Final Hours.wmv. An hour later, we got another teaser in the sand image that we previously didn't have any answers for before the predecessor.wmv. Huh. Why is this... Oh, it was deleted almost immediately after it was posted. 2 days after these two teasers, we got a new teaser image of Adult Link in East Clocktown with a flame behind him, with Matt smiling, almost taking Adult Link by surprise. Now, I'm hesitant to say this is Sarah because if you remember, Jed had taken the adult's mask from her, and we don't have an inventory screen, so we can't confirm if they have a pendant of memories. This almost makes me believe this is actually Jadusable next to Matt, with the flame behind him.
Somebody.
Next, I don't even have much of an explanation for this one, honestly. We got a tweet captioned by 3 question marks, because of course it's 3. On top we have 3 screenshots from Jadusable's original 2010 playthrough, and the bottom have 2 scenes from Sarah's 2020 playthrough of the Haunted Cartridge. The first from the prisoner.wmv, and the second from Final Hours.wmv. My initial thoughts were this image with a chronicles of the beginning, middle, and end of Jadusable's story, but it actually turns that the first and second images here would be reversed if that was the case. 3 days later, and we get another Twitter teaser image in the form of Majora's Mask in the dark void with something behind them. Man, this is getting wild. Majora's Wrath is the final incarnation of the final boss of Majora's Mask, although my thoughts are that Majora's Wrath are not going to be the end battle for us here, as I seem to have implied during the Dying World that the most important fight will be fought without a sword. This could have been the votes that we've been debating amongst ourselves, but I also think it could be something we see moving forward. On October 29th, 2 days before the big finale, we got a final Twitter tease with an image of a fierce deity Link seemingly guarding a yellow elegy statue. Now, it might seem crazy, and I think it's the 4 AM delirium from when I'm typing this up, but what if somehow, some way, the dream Jad had during Arc 1 came true? Way back in Awakening 1, I talked about the possibility of alternate timeline Jadusable becoming an elegy statue. What if it's not alternate timeline, but the good-natured, scared college student we knew who liked GoldenEye, fuck yeah, got repressed and locked away into an elegy we see here, and the monster of what remained, his hubris, is what we now call Jadusable. Just a small thought, nothing really concrete to back it up, but man, if it came true, oh boy. And finally, at 11:57 p.m. on October 30th, just before turning off the day of Halloween, the premiere for the end.wmv went live. The thumbnail for this video is insane. We see what seems to be a ritual burning at the stake of the happy mask salesman at what seems to be dusk. Several versions of the banker NPC chant and cheer all around him. Jadusable's YouTube avatar at this point had changed to Matt's face, implying, along with the previous teasers we received, Matt would be heavily involved with the events of the finale. Just 2 hours before the premiere of the video, we received a thumbnail change that shows a close-up of the Happy Mask Salesman's face as he burns. We have tags here, which I'm going to spare myself this one time from reading, but notable tags include Matt, Ben, Ifrit, Free, Sacrifice, and New World. Also, we have a new profile picture, an edit of the elegy statue that's been imprinted with the father's visage, and Majora's Mask eyes, courtesy Jasmine of the Awakening Discord. And now, the thumbnails decided to scroll through a retrospective of all of the previous video thumbnails, minus a few, up until the end premiered at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I'm going to be doing something interesting for this finale. I'm going to be reacting to it live. So let's head over to that right now. Okay, hello guys. We're here for something kind of different. And I'm kind of scared. I have the end.wmv loaded up. I haven't watched this video. The only thing I know about this video is one thing that was DM'd to me separately. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's something that I assumed beforehand, so it's not really that big of a spoiler. But this is a 36-minute video, and I'm going into it completely blind. I do know what happened with the thumbnails beforehand, how it basically did a retrospective of all of the thumbnails of the previous videos, minus a few. I'm ready. Well, first we'll go to with the fourth day glitch activated once again, Sarah desperately attempts to stop the chaos and save Ben. This is the final video in the Ben drowned storyline. Here we go. I'm antsy. After this, I'll kind of analyze it more, and then we'll go through it. Okay, so this is where these... Okay, so day 4. Ben.wmv. And then we got Jadusable. Yeah. No drowned, interestingly enough. Then we got methods Ben, prisoner, and final hours. I'm like scanning all 5 videos to see if there's anything interesting. Turn my volume up a little bit. So this is the same footage. We got the kind of methods interruptions here. Inventory seems the same, so it's, yep, we got the 6 graves on each sand. This atmosphere is crazy. I like it. Here we are. Oh boy. The tower's already down. Oh, don't look at the moon. It's not there. Oh. Is that Sculptula? Hold on, I'm gonna go back slightly. I'm just gonna go full screen. I'm gonna be stopping as I see interesting things. I'm pretty sure this is gonna ruin the recording real quick. Can't quite make that out. I'll have to open it in Photoshop later and zoom in on that. The slow telescope creaking is so good. One sec. I'm just gonna make sure my recording. One second. There was just some white space that I'm getting rid of, so I don't have to do it in editing later on and make my job a lot worse. Okay, we continue. And he's gone. Got the impact site there. Are we going to have a custom Dawn of the Fourth Day title card? No, just a new day. Oop. I don't know if Link normally leaves footprints on the ground there. I don't know if that's just a side effect of the glitching or whatnot, but that'd be a weird thing to add in. I don't know what purpose it'd serve. I was gonna say there's no way she's going down the ladder normally. 0% chance. Honestly, I don't even think I ever really noticed that there was like stuff up there on the ceiling. Like, I go through here so many times in game. No one's going to be alive at the mayor's residence. Yep. Yep. Well, I can't say that the interior decorating is too in theme. This carpet, hold on. This carpet here, I don't have my mouse on, but that's straight up just a square version of the Everyman Hybrid logo. I just wanted to say. Like, it's the same colors and same, like, pattern and everything. Anyway. Vessel of the Whole Wandering Spirits. Yep. Oh, and then we got the trapdoor. And not actually trapdoor, but that's the same kind of look as the image trapdoor from Methods. The Methods website. Kind of cool that it's bringing that back, even if it's not exactly the same. That was like phase 1. Everyone's gone. They're probably going to pull like a "you were the one who caused this" kind of thing. Because she chose to make the glitch happen. But I mean, like, in a sense, you're putting people to rest, so. In this specific situation in World Alpha, where shit's like, where the alternative is repeating the same existence. Oh, there they are. There's my son. Hi, Matt. Well, looks like it's the end of the line, huh? What's wrong? What were you expecting? Yeah. Okay, so the thing that was spoiled to me was that Matt's the villain. Obviously not a huge... I pretty much expected it, but my questions lie with why the Happy Mask Salesman's here. Oh, is he going to be the one that says it? Oh, that's creepy. You did. Oh. Or maybe it's because of that mask you wore. Maybe because I had all their rage. Can't thank you enough for what you've done. The Father will be here soon. We will remake this world forever. Street Fire Temple. Chancing. We're just gonna ignore the clipping. This is pretty crazy. I can't imagine what it took to get all this to work. Also, there's more than one flame there. There's even 3. I just wanted to point that out. More flames. Talk to them. I want to see what they say. I just noticed the moon's face back there. Wow. That took me a second. He will complete us. Complete us. There's no turning back the clock now. All will join until there is nothing. And that's where the tag New World comes from. Join us. What would happen if we said yes? What would happen? You shouldn't have done that. Come on, inspect the moon. Yeah, there's no central tower there. Just like before. What's that? Oh, shit. Against all odds, in my best efforts, he succeeded. Majora's Mask N64. Lost in my thoughts. Now, I wish I could say this is my first time hearing that. You still don't get it, do you? He's come down here to hide with me. He's terrified. We all are. How are you going to turn him or anyone else back to normal? Did you think that somehow some kind of magical happy ending existed? You've kept trying to turn this story into something it isn't, and now all of us have paid the price. I told you before, there are no heroes here. Did it ever seem strange to you that you were thrust into this cliched hero's journey? That if you ever were met with an impasse, that somehow there would be a fluke to allow you to progress? At times it would border on an anime cliche, how you just show up in time to save your friends. You aren't the first, but you might be the densest. Many have tried to do what you've done. I've killed them all. try it. You couldn't keep us down before, and you won't. Oh, that's Sarah talking. Oh shit. I'm not interested in fighting you. You've already done the damage I was trying to prevent. Besides, even if I could have no means. Oh, even if I could, I have no means. My blade was destroyed when I tried to stop the final child. I tried to stop him. Whether we were tricked or came here voluntarily, this world is our twisted home. We have to protect it. Those children just want to twist it into their demented plaything, for what they call the Father. But the truth is, not even they know what it truly wants. Every 3 days, the world resets. Some keep their memories, some don't. It's the natural order of things. For years, I've kept this world, as imperfect as it is, safe. I grew to actually care about its inhabitants, others stuck here, just like me. The truth, or Jadusable's theme, when duplicates of items started appearing, I knew something was horribly wrong. We all did. I knew I had to act quickly. I removed every opportunity I could for you to get ahead, denied you items, made locations inaccessible. I knew what you were trying to do. I knew they would find your hubris. That's where that comes from. It's your desire to be. That's where Epona went. The desire to save the innocent. A lifetime of playing these games conditioned you to completely accept everything you were told. This is brilliant. I love this. Something was guiding you through all my attempts to stop you. You persevered. Even death could not stop you. All because they wanted you, a player character, to activate that glitch. To make the same mistake as me. He's mad in the background. He's waiting there at the end of that tunnel to begin the rest of the nightmare. Sarah, whatever differences we had are irrelevant now. It's our responsibility to set this right. Ben stays here where it's safe. I may be near death, but I have one last trick. Just as I took this responsibility from another warrior. Wait. Who was Jad's predecessor? Is that who the next story is going to be about? I mean, this story is going to be done after this, but that's cool. The fierce deity armor. I feel like, one sec, I feel like I'm blanking. No, because so Jad had someone like we have Jad now. Interesting. We're only halfway through, jeez. Okay. In the end, we were just pawns in a grander scheme that I could never figure out. I feel like that quote's from somewhere. Yeah, I feel like I'm remembering that from something else, or from this. The one thing still bothers me after all this time. Why did he give me a second chance? That's going to be some prime theorizing content right there. I liked that little chime there. I lost my thoughts. The black void. The space between the code. Well, if it isn't our favorite little heroine, right on cue. Hold on. What's this? Oh, it's every the majority theme. Okay. I was gonna say, what was that from? I missed that text. Just look at that. She got a wardrobe change. Must mean our dear friend has passed on. You know, he loved to pretend to be stoic, right? But he wasn't. Shall I recant you all the times he broke down in agony? How he pleaded for his mom when he thought no one was listening? Or how he was slaughtered when his strongest weapon couldn't even harm our friend here? Our friend here. That look. I know that look. Hatred, betrayal, fury. Wrath. Cessor. Oh, Circle was the one talking. That makes more sense before. Well spoken, I couldn't agree more. It was just weird because I didn't see a physical fairy, so. You have complete control of this world thanks to you. We will turn it into a nightmare. I love Majora's. Whoa! Okay! Gonna make note of all the flames in the air. This is some strong Xenoblade 1 vibes. Yeah, I love Majora's Wrath. And Majora's like a boss. Whoa, that's cool. I love the attack affecting the world. So who? I'm trying to like think of what I want to ask. So for the moment, I'm running on the assumption that Majora Kid is drowned. But why would Matt just be a mod? I'm definitely gonna have to look over some Arc 1, Arc 2 stuff, or mainly Arc 2 stuff again with this new context. Yeah, this also goes to show how this boss fight can be when you don't have Fierce Deity. Our physical attacks are being distorted. It's like we're not even hurting it. Imagine showing this to not Koji Kondo. I mean, I guess imagine showing it to him too. Imagine showing this to Anuma and being like, "Hey, you like the new Zelda game?" Surprised she hasn't done the top attack yet. Although we might not have done enough damage. I just noticed the sword is like the Razor Sword, I believe it is. That's cool. I really like that effect of how it's destabilizing stuff. Oh, there it is! Talk about like the least seen move from this game. Sarah, we can't give up. We have to. Oh, I love the distortions. Oh, she's gonna play the Song of Healing. Pro play. Pro play. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know why I wasn't. Oh shit. Just fucking Control-Alt-Delete that motherfucker. There's my son. You should not have done that. Wait. What? The hell? Oh, this is the father. Something massive is coming. Kelbris. Sarah. Oh, we're going widescreen. I've never seen anything like this before. Freaking dependent on memories. I have chills. What is the meaning of this? Also, that's a video edited in text box if I've ever seen anything like it. Speak. Memories. Memories of the inhabitants of this world. What a strange gesture. You are not like the ones before. They attack and want me to destroy. Explain. We are one of the younger worlds. Ascension was unrefined. It was forced on children. There are people that are angry that they are here. Who are you? I am the last remaining god of this world. Last remaining? Then why do you want to destroy us? I am reflexive in design to support World Alpha. I respond to its stimuli. Then respond. We are trying to save this world. There are dozens of people that only want to live. Have you been sent to change my parameters? Yes, I suppose we have been. Very well. I will remove all anomalies from World Alpha to facilitate this new directive. Those who kill, harm, and threaten the natural order of the world. Is that what you did to Matt? There we have textual evidence that it is Matt. Yes, he was incompatible with our new parameters. My son! What of our friends? The ones that didn't hurt anyone, like Rosa and Ben. Restoration to functional bodies. Ben, in particular, was an oversight from previous AI. What does that mean? Who was here with Kelbrus? What about us? Users are unable to exist on the edge of their world's reality, as we are without becoming anomalies. So Sarah's fucked. Well, not fucked, but she's Circle are gonna be voided out. The world you fought for will exist, but your body is already beginning to fade. We going Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on this. Will Rosa find out that we won in the end, at least? What about me? Where am I at? The majority of users have sustained heavy mental trauma. A reset is required. So they won't even remember us or what we did for them. I mean, it's probably for the best. Because to remember what we did for them, they had to remember what happened. That is correct. Once you remove us, what will happen to us? Where will we go? I was gonna say, like, I don't know. Or we'll find out. I do not know yet. And it's going to be left hanging here. I'm not even going to check the time, but we're near the end. It's time. This sounds like the intro music to Pokemon Destiny Deoxys. Alex Hall. Hold on. Luke. Where was... Unless they're counting the digital Fireside videos as part of Ben Drowned, which is interesting. Within Hubris came out of it. Demon, final casual battle. Lost in my thoughts. Latches. Oh no, Latches, no! No, you were so close. And the Neo Moon children. Dark Hollow Fantasy. Yo, we got the name! What? He just gonna give us the name? Now he's gonna choose the time to credit it? I mean, I'm glad he did. But we spent forever looking for this song. Water and Ice Temple? What? He's crediting all the Arc 1 songs, or Arc 2 songs. Fuck. King Kong by Jibs. Lore Consultant. Yo, Circle, that's awesome. Lore Consultant. So, Skylar Hanya modding community. Jadusable Wiki, yep, that's so cool. Joe Rogan Experience. Here we are. And all the Patreons that got in the credits. I'll try this down a little bit on my end. Nexpo, James Holyoke, James C. Pridemore, Nick Nocturne. Hey! Yo, Nick Nocturne, what's up? Speedify, Bedrock, Julie Flint. Hey, there's me! Right there at the end of that small paragraph. Kickstarter. Oh, he's thanking the Kickstarter! That's so cool. Man, I can't believe it's done. I don't know really what to feel right now. Yeah. You said it, dude. Man. Thank you to my wonderful family and friends who have supported my passion for storytelling. Thank you to my fans for their patience and understanding. It all started with you. So long, and thanks for all the memes. God damn it, I'm starting to fucking tear up any fucking 1-2 punches. Man, what a story. All the ups and downs. So where do we go from here? Well, I guess I'll meet you back at the video, and we'll see what happens next, because I don't really know right now. Oh, that's nice. Is that it? Yep, that's it. That is the end of Ben Drowned. Man, a decade of my life has been with this story. And it's now done. And I appreciate that YouTube knows me too well. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the video proper. Okay, so now that that is over and the series is concluded, where do we go from here? I think one thing we can do is run through a bit of a timeline of events from the very beginning with the context that we have now to fill in some holes that we were unable to previously. In 1998, a man named Kelbris was forcibly digitized into a barely fitting shell with 3 other people. These shells eventually taking the forms of the giants in Majora's Mask, as confirmed by Jadusable's out-of-character Q&A, where Kelbris took the role of a giant, a god inside the Majora's Mask universe. Their digitizations came at the hand of a company named Xavier Solutions Project for Digital Immortality called Eternity Project. It's likely that testing with this technology happened before this, but Kelbris and his 3 unnamed other victims were the first recorded successes at digitization. Eternity Project staff realized then that they needed new test subjects for their experiments, so they needed to find people who would not raise a big stink in the public eye if their bodies went missing. and so vulnerable and despondent youth became the demographic for the next round of testing. They fashioned a website to attract the attention of these youths under the guise of a cult centered around the moon, what became known as the legacy version of the Eternity Project website. Several users found their way to the forums and joined up under similar circumstances. We know a few of these confirmed users as Ben, Matt, Insidii, Duskworld23, Alex, Rem, Rosa, Neko, and others. It is unknown specifically when everyone came on board aside from Ben, who we know that after joining up with the cult, he was later digitized and his body went missing in 2002. It is theorized that his body may have been found underwater, so the link that became Ben drowned, although it's possible that simply his empty body was tossed in the water to avoid suspicion on Eternity's Project's part, meaning that his actual death did not involve water at all. Ben was reported to have played the cartridge of Majora's Mask before his digitization that contained the Eternity Project's first working prototype, World Alpha. His file remained uncleared before his transfer into the game. He was stated to always want to become his favorite video game character, the hero Link. But the shell that he was deposited into by the Eternity Project staff was a mockery of his desires, the unmoving, unwilling elegy statue. Sometime after Ben makes contact with the cartridge, it is given to Alex. Either that, or Alex became inserted into the role of Link. And then the cartridge ends up in the possession of the old man who lived on Ben Street in St. Louis, Missouri. Circle Hunter and Zedwigex's theory I mentioned earlier in this video continues here to suggest that the old man is an Eternity Project staff member, as would explain his knowledge of the cartridge and why he has it. There is more to go along with this, but that'll be for shortly. A few years pass and we reach 2005. The Eternity Project makes breakthrough in the technology and methods of digitization. Before this, inducing an adrenaline-fueled demise was what allowed the Eternity Project to capture the spirit before it left wherever spirits go when death occurs. From this point on, the necessary actions would only necessitate an implant in the left arm and a medical practitioner. It is also at this point that new digital worlds are being created at a much faster rate, using technology from 2005 onward as a base, on top of World Alpha's legacy code. We have 6 confirmed worlds, all using the first 6 letters of the Greek alphabet, with more being mentioned but not directly confirmed by specific franchise on the Eternity Project website. In 2009, a YouTube account was created named Jadusable by an unknown friend of the person that we do know by the name Jadusable. They uploaded the video footage of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines and Prototype, both which highly and heavily relate to the ensuing events, so it's possible that the original uploader has ties with the Eternity Project. The person we know as Jadusable uses the YouTube account to log his experience with World Alpha after he has a chance encounter with the old man when perusing for games at yard sales for his Nintendo 64. The old man notices Jadusable's interest in Majora's Mask inkblot and then gives him the World Alpha cartridge for free, then wishes a well goodbye to Ben inside the cartridge, which Jadusable confuses for a moment of senility. When booting up the cartridge, Jadusable finds that the characters are mixing up his file name with the other file name, Ben. In reality, the people digitized inside the cartridge, the original Moon Children, are internally misremembering Ben as Link versus the elegy statue. Jadusable continues playing the game normally until he decides to perform the Fourth Day glitch and completely wrecks the game world's initial programming. The elegy statue has regained a form of autonomy and begins to follow around the character he always wanted to be, although he was unable to communicate in normal ways. Jadusable misinterpreted Ben's actions as malicious, and so he continued to run away, causing more destruction as the events of the world continued to spiral out of control. One of the Moon Children inside the cartridge, Matt, took advantage of the situation and became the face for the Behavioral Event Network, the consensus of the Moon Children inside the game, jaded by the actions of the Eternity Project. Matt created a false identity named after the network to pin the blame of his actions on Ben, the boy who only wanted to be the hero. Matt, as Ben, contacted Jadusable as soon as the capture card connected the network to his computer. He taunted Jadusable and confirmed his fears to manipulate him into sending the world into further disarray. Jadusable eventually manages to make contact with the father, whom Matt and the other Moon Children have been influencing to cause wanton destruction and violence based on his initial parameters of digitization. Through Jadusable's playthrough, it is revealed that 3 other giants had died out, whether absorbed into the father's singular program, or just had their data wiped entirely, he is the last remaining god of the world. Jadusable, already mentally broken by this point, attacks the father out of reflex and becomes digitized within the game himself. It's likely heavily related to the fact that the old man was seen outside his dorm window, theorized again by Circle Hunter to be this time when the old man retrieves the cartridge in Jadusable's computer. Now, there is a split of opinion here in theory. One side believes that at this point it is Matt's influence over Jadusable's computer that posts to his YouTube channel leading the players to "you shouldn't have done that.net." While Circle suggests it was actually the old man then posting the link for players to find from Jad's computer when he retrieved it. The exact nature of it doesn't really matter too much in this situation, but either way, players were led to the website where they learned more about the inner workings of the Moon Children as they believed it, the front that the Eternity Project had set up. Mention is made of a blackout where Ben went missing and Alex has seemingly gone rogue. The blackout is most likely attributed to the events Jadusable set in motion inside World Alpha. Moving forward, players seemingly lost contact with Matt as his programming might have been corrected by a future entity we'll come into contact with, known as the Jailer. For whatever reason, Matt seems to remember information past the timeline resets inside World Alpha, possibly due to the nature of the vessel he was posted into, the Potion Seller, who naturally does not appear within Majora's Mask itself. A new poster on the Jadusable YouTube channel then led players to the last Bastion of Defense, which in reality is the meeting ground for new souls to be transitioned into their new digital worlds, within Hubris, and then further, the Wayward Horizon. Players found digitally coded cries for help from the Moon Children, but their knowledge had not been far enough to understand exactly their nature. Someone from the Eternity Project website then began leaking company information and revealing the true nature behind the fronts, as the players saw almost a decade earlier, stating that timelines were beginning to merge and posting cryptically about the true nature of the events within the cartridge. We then find one of the digitized subjects from the Eternity Project's efforts under the influence of the player Consensus, who goes by the name Sarah. She makes contact with World Alpha, as provided by an Eternity Project leader named Abel. With the player's help, Sarah is able to reverse the damage that Jadusable had been manipulated into causing, and brought the state of the game back to where it was in 2010, before Jadusable received the cartridge. Sarah meets up with Matt almost immediately, who does not introduce himself, but who players learn of by the sources in control of the Jadusable accounts outside of the game. Matt aligns Sarah to consider the father as the true enemy, and sends her on a mission to attack the other members of his Consensus in order to gain her trust. Meanwhile, Jadusable still exists within the game and attempts to stop her mission before it even begins by removing everything possible that would help her in her journey, whose end would be the same as Jadusable's. Sarah, unaware of Jad's actions or motives, continues forward until she's halted by not having the required mass to defeat the Georg Moonchild. She manages to escape the fight, but comes into contact with Jadusable, who reveals his plan to stop Sarah in her tracks. The two have a showdown where Jadusable comes out the victor, and Sarah is killed. However, the player Consensus could not let her remain this way, so they took to combing through the Eternity Project data to find a conversation between Abel and who I believe to be Jadus, one of the original posters of content during the 2020 revival, on how to fix the now destabilizing World Alpha. Players took action and injected code into World Alpha's heart to return Sarah to life. Sarah rushes to enact the game glitch that Jad performed 10 years ago, and thereby falls into Matt's trap. Once the glitch is enacted, Matt is given full control over the destabilizing world, and shows off his ability by burning the happy mass cells in his body, and pushing to have the father destroy everything so he can remake the world into a nightmarish hellscape. Sarah refuses to let things be as they are, and chases Matt through the clock tower, but ends up finding a defeated Jadusable and a terrified-looking Ben. Jadusable explains that his goals were to prevent Sarah from repeating his mistakes, that since the time the players saw, there were always test subjects doing the same thing that she did, and he had to kill them one by one to stop them in their tracks. It was a repeated cycle for Jadusable that hardened him as a person. This is evident as Sarah was revealed to be participant 423 in the Wayward Horizon, the number so symbolic to the uploader who had decided to interfere and make the players aware of her presence. He says that Sarah was different because of the player's presence, and that while he tried to stop her, in the end he failed because they were there to revive her when all seemed lost. After Jadusable killed Sarah, he claimed the adult's mass she received from Ben, and went off to kill the Georgian twin Moon Children, explaining the same picture we saw on Twitter that didn't seem to have any presence in the videos. This is Jadusable. However, when attempting to kill the Majora Moonchild, his sword was broken, and he was left within an inch of his life. He gives in and accepts Sarah as his new inheritor, just as Alex had done with him previously. He returns Sarah to her full strength, and she chooses to move headfirst into the finality of the world, finding both Matt and the Majora Moonchild. The two meld to bring forth the game's final boss in a final attempt to stop Sarah, but she manages to heal the creature, opting to fight the battle without a sword, as previously predicted. This action summons forth the father, who deletes Matt completely from the game's existence for enacting danger to the cartridge's inhabitants. Sarah uses the Pendant of Memories to return the father to his previous programming, removing the reflection that Matt and other Moonchildren instilled into him. The father reveals that Sarah is unlike the previous who interacted with him, and asks of her motivations. Upon learning that the father is a reflexive AI, she wishes to return the world to how it's supposed to be. Although knowing that this would remove both her, Circle, and Jadusable from the game completely, as they are anomalies that would not mesh well with the New World Alpha. When asked where they will go, the father answers that he does not know. And then the action is taken. The three of their wills, Alex is included through Jadusable, restorable Alpha to the time before it was Matt and the other Moonchildren's interference. Ben's vessel is corrected, and he is now the hero he always wanted to be. And the Eternity Project staff still remains at large, unhindered by the removal of Matt. What remains for them is yet to be seen, but for the time being, that is the story of Ben Drowned in its totality. The Neo Moonchildren is a collaborative group of dedicated fans of the Ben Drowned story, who have assembled to create Ben Drowned adjacent content. All of this work is to be considered not canon to the original Ben Drowned story, nor is it a spin-off or ARG in its own. Instead, it's a collaborative venture that will sponsor the creation and distribution of works that various members have had stored in their heads for almost as long as a decade, some as new as a month. We hope to tell you the stories we have stored up through whatever means we have available, and that you enjoy this video as our second official work. Next, I'd like to give some quick introductions to the Neo Moonchildren. As this being a collaborative work, I want to highlight the people that are going to be bringing these stories and characters to life. Finally, I have a teaser for you for one of my own Neo Moonchildren projects, an excerpt from a Ben Drowned anthology series titled Hold Your Breath.
going to begin the experiment. Subject 006. Benjamin will be subject again to the 11 digit. After previous tests on the spirit's connection with the heightened state of awareness that comes from placing subject in life or death situations, we discovered in a most 6 ways it happens to dormant abilities that lie within us. By removing the body from all external stimuli, we can get a cleaner sample of the subject's spirit once the appropriate stress level is reached. You won't be able to hear us, see us, much less have anything within it. He is going to be completely cut off. That is, until he knows what's going on.
Yes, Benjamin? The tests are going to be starting now. Just, well, hold your breath.
Yeah.